The phone buzzed on the kitchen counter, its tremor slicing through the silence of our home like a blade against flesh. My eyes fixed on it, heart racing, knowing exactly who it was. Dr. Elena Harper, my wife of 12 years, the woman who hadn't come home last night. Her name glowed across the screen, but I couldn't bring myself to answer. Not after discovering the note on her desk, written in her precise script. Tell him it's terminal. He deserves to know. Terminal. The word ripped at my chest. Not because it meant death, but because it meant us, our marriage, our life, our love. I let the call roll to voicemail, unwilling to hear her voice, a ghost I wasn't ready to face. The Brooklyn brownstone we once filled with laughter and clinking glasses now felt like a tomb. The faint trace of her lavender perfume still lingered in the air. Once it had drawn me to her, now it churned my stomach. I sank onto the leather couch, staring at the framed photo on the mantel. Us at Coney Island. She was laughing, head tilted back, my arm wrapped around her waist. She had just started med school then, her eyes alive with ambition. I was her biggest supporter, pulling double shift at the garage to cover tuition, cooking when she studied late into the night. Where had that Elena gone? The first warning sign was barely noticeable, like a hairline crack in glass you only see when it spreads. 3 months ago, she began staying late at the hospital, blaming residency demands. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She was saving lives while I kept engines running. But then the nights got longer. Her texts grew shorter. On call, she'd say. Emergency case. I told myself it was temporary. Then came the locked phone. The same one she once left lying face up, now guarded like a state secret. I teased her once, but her laugh was jagged, sharp. Privacy, Mark. Even doctors need it. I found a note by accident, rummaging through her study for a pen. Her sanctuary, cluttered with journals and patient charts. The scrap of paper lay under a mug. The word terminal seared into me. Did it mean her health? Mine? Or us? My hand shook as I searched further, guilt scraping at me, until I came across a phone bill. Over 200 calls to a number I didn't know. At hours she claimed to be working. I dialed, expecting a hospital line. Instead, a man's voice answered, low, steady, familiar in a way that made my throat close. Dr. Bennett. Paul Bennett. Her mentor. The cardiologist she always spoke of with such reverence. Why was she calling him at 2 a.m? I replayed her last voicemail. Clipped professional. Mark, I'll be home late. Don't wait up. No warmth. No affection. No, I love you. My bare feet paced the cold kitchen tiles as I called the number again. Straight to voicemail. Dr. Paul Bennett. Leave a message. I hung up, pulse hammering in my ears. The fragments were aligning now, each one slicing deeper. I remembered her smile at last month's hospital gala, the way it lingered on Paul, the brush of his hand at her back as they danced. I dismissed it as respect, but now it looked like betrayal I'd been blind to. I drove to the hospital, neon lights and shadows streaking past. The ER buzzed with alarms and rushing staff. But Elena was nowhere. A receptionist named Tina frowned at my question. Dr. Harper left about an hour ago, she said gently, with Dr. Bennett. My stomach collapsed. I mumbled thanks and stumbled outside, November air biting my face. I called her again. No answer. Then Paul's number. No answer. Each unanswered ring slammed against my ribs like a hammer. Back home, I sat at the kitchen table, staring at that note. Terminal. Not just our marriage, me. The life we'd built, everything we were. Memories surfaced uninvited. Her late night studying, me bringing her coffee, kissing her forehead. Our rare fights, ending with promises whispered in each other's arms. Was it all real, or had she grown into someone unrecognizable, carved hollow by ambition? The front door creaked open at 3 a.m. Elena stepped inside, white coat draped over her arm, hair loose and tired. She froze at the sight of me holding the note. Mark, she said softly, guarded, why are you still up? What's terminal, Elena? My voice cracked with hurt. Us or just me? Her face drained of color, but her eyes, those eyes I had loved, stayed, calculating. You went through my things. Not a question. 200 calls to Paul Bennett. I shot back, trembling. Late nights. Locked phone. What am I supposed to believe? She laid her coat down carefully, as if buying time. It's not what you think, she said, but her voice betrayed a tremor. Paul's helping me with a patient. It's complicated. Then explain it. I demanded, stepping closer. Explain why you wrote our marriage is terminal. Explain the lies. Her lips parted, but no sound came. For the first time, I saw fear not in me, but the truth. Mark, I didn't mean... She stopped, shoulders sagging. I'm not happy, she whispered. I haven't been for a long time. The word struck like a fist, stealing my breath. Since when? I asked, barely audible. Since becoming a doctor? Since him? It's not Paul, she said quickly, but her eyes betrayed her. It's me. I've changed. This life, us, it isn't enough anymore. Not enough? I echoed, rage cutting through grief. I gave everything for you. Elena, my time, my dreams, my heart. And you're throwing it away. For what? Some fling with a hotshot doctor? It's not a fling, she snapped, composure shattering. Paul sees me. He understands who I'm trying to be. You're stuck in the past, Mark. You don't understand. The room spun. I saw us at Coney Island again. Her laughter, my promises. Then Paul's hand at her back. Her late nights. Her locked phone. The truth wasn't lurking anymore. It consumed me. You love him, I said, not a question. She didn't answer. Her silence screamed louder than any confession. I grabbed my keys, vision blurred with tears. I hope he's worth it, I muttered, slamming the door behind me. Days later, I heard through a mutual friend. Elena had collapsed at the hospital. What looked like a heart problem turned out to be a panic attack. And Paul? He was holding her hand while I sat alone, staring at divorce papers. She hadn't flatlined physically, but emotionally, she was gone. Her betrayal had been the final beat of marriage I thought would last forever. When I signed the papers, my hand was steady. My heart, shattered, haunted by the woman I had loved and the life she had outgrown. Do you want me to make this tight and cinematic for a screenplay format, shorter, visual-driven, or keep it as a literary narrative style like above? ChatGPT said. I came home late, bone-tired after a long shift. Sarah was on the couch, thumb flicking across her phone, as if something urgent demanded her attention. Normally I wouldn't have cared, but as I passed, she glanced down and the screen flashed a message I couldn't help seeing. Hope your dumb husband doesn't get suspicious. My heart stopped. The sender was her boss. At first I tried to convince myself I'd misread it. Maybe an inside joke or some cruel shorthand taken out of context. But Sarah slammed the phone shut and looked at me with a guilty edge I couldn't ignore. This wasn't a joke. Something was happening. I didn't blow up on her in the moment. I kept my voice steady while I asked about dinner, asked about her day, even loaded the dishwasher. Inside, though, my head was racing. Why would her boss say that unless there was something to hide? And why would she let it happen? When she was asleep that night, I used a code I'd always known to unlock her phone. My hands trembled as I scrolled. There it was, after one another, conversations with her boss full of flirtation, secret plans to meet late, and messages where she mocked me for being too trusting. Each thread tightened like a vice around my chest. I lay awake the rest of the night, staring at the ceiling, furious that the woman I loved was betraying me, and furious that they both assumed I'd never find out. By morning I compiled everything I could, texts, photos, emails. I saved them in a hidden folder on my laptop and printed a handful. If they thought I was gullible, I was about to prove how wrong they were. For the next week, I played the part of the oblivious husband. I kissed Sarah goodbye each morning, smiled at her stories, praised her cooking. All the while I collected more proof, tracking her movements, noting late shifts, and recording some calls. Each new piece of evidence fed the resolve building inside me. When I had enough, I sent everything to HR. I sent screenshots to the boss's wife, too. Within days, the boss was under investigation, and his marriage started to collapse. Sarah had no clue I'd set all of this in motion. One evening, she came home in tears, telling me how her boss had been suspended and that his wife had filed for divorce. She seemed bewildered, confused about why everything at work was falling apart. I listened, offering sympathy while a cold satisfaction sat under my calm. A week later, I put the printed messages on the table in front of her. She went white. "You thought I was dumb?" I said, my voice flat. She fumbled for explanations that sounded thin and helpless. She begged for forgiveness, asked for another chance, but trust, once shattered, doesn't mend easily. I told her I wanted a divorce. For the first time, she understood the consequences of what she'd done. As proceedings began, I made sure she walked away with nothing beyond what the law required. Her affair had ruined her reputation and cost her the job. Her boss lost his marriage and his career. The two of them who'd laughed about me behind closed doors were left exposed and isolated. I never raised my voice. I didn't need theatrics. I simply turned on the light and let their actions do the rest. Months later, I look back and see that single message as the pivot point. They thought I was clueless. I didn't become suspicious. I became deliberate. In the end, I walked away freer, stronger, and vindicated. Her boss had been right about one thing. He didn't expect me to notice. But notice I did, and I got my revenge.